Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Steve again, Harmless Rebel. Time for a punk update. Not really an update, just kind of a what's spinning. A few of these are new. Um, a few of them are albums that I've had for years and years. So we'll start off with a little post-punk before we get into the straight-up punk. But so there's a Japanese band called Oxz, O-X-Z. And it's pronounced Oxz, which I don't know why, because the Japanese don't call ZZ. But this is their complete discography. It was an all-female post-punk band from Japan. Pretty well known in the scene there. They opened up for a lot of big names that came through Japan and kind of got a following that way. But they never released any albums. For a decade, all they did was release singles. And this is a compilation of the singles. They're hit or miss. I really like about half of them. About half of them I don't, but it's a band I've always been curious about. Makoto from Acid Mother's Temple is a big fan of theirs, and I've seen a lot of him talk about them quite a bit. But here you go. This is actually the cover of one of their singles, but it's called All Along 81 to 89. So if that sounds interesting to you, if you're into post-punk, it's definitely worth checking out. It's not expensive. This was from 2020, and I picked it up maybe 2 months ago for like 18 bucks. So nothing super expensive. This is one I lucked into. I've talked about this band before. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of the modern punk, but of the modern punk bands, this band was by far the best in my opinion. I liked all of their albums until their last one. Their last one was just kind of so-so, and I believe they split up after that. But this is Against Me. This is the White Crosses and Black Crosses 3 LP set. So they did 2 versions of the CD. One of the CDs was just called White Crosses, which is actually the album. And then they did Black Crosses as a deluxe edition. So White Crosses was the album, and then Black Crosses was live versions, acoustic versions of the songs. And I really dig those too. But when the 3 LP version came out, they sold out pretty quick. And I was never able to find one. I recently found one at a local store for super cheap. I think I paid 35 bucks for it. These go for like 120 bucks. Fantastic album, though. I don't know if White Crosses is my favorite. It's up there, though. Their biggest hit, I believe, that the band has had is I Was a Teenage Anarchist. It's a fantastic song. It's one of my favorite songs of the last 20 years. It's really good. And it's a singer just talking about how he wanted to be an anarchist, and then he became an anarchist and found out that there's actually just as many, if not more, rules as an anarchist as there would be if he wasn't. So, and just kind of talk about how the whole thing's an illusion. Really fantastic song, really killer album. Highly recommend checking out White Crosses if you haven't checked that one out. A couple clashes. So I ended up finding a really cheap, not really cheap, a good priced white label promo of Give 'Em Enough Rope from The Clash. I already had a copy of it, but I got such a great deal on it that I went ahead and grabbed it and then sold it to a friend. But it made me want to listen to the album again. So I pulled this out and listened to it a couple times. You can't go wrong with this era of Clash. Fantastic album. And then I went ahead and pulled this one out too. This is the Outside Broadcast Radio 5 mix of Radio Clash. I believe there's 3 different mixes, and then the original song on the single here. Oh, speaking of Against Me, I also recently picked this up. This is Cavalier Eternal off, and You Look Like I Need a Drink, which is, I love that. Off of Eternal Cowboy, which I believe was an album right before White Crosses. So I'm always trying to find their singles. Their singles are hard to find. Some of them are hundreds of bucks. This one is not a super expensive one, but glad to run across that in a store. The Flesh Eaters. I wasn't really familiar with the Flesh Eaters. I knew the name. The singer was in another band that I knew. I wasn't as big a fan of that band. However, I had always heard that the Flesh Eaters were much better. And I ran across this for like 15 or 16 bucks about a year ago. And I've played this quite a bit. Really good punk album. Really dug this one as well, or dig this one. And then one I recently picked up. I've known this band since the 80s. They're mainly from their track that was on the Return of the Living Dead soundtrack. And I had heard some other singles throughout the years. But this is 45 Grave. What's the name of the album? Sleep in Safety. I had never heard the full album. I had just heard a couple singles. This album is so good. I was blown away by how good this was. I can't remember, was it... one of the guys from the Germs was the main force behind this band. Was it the bassist? I can't remember if it's the bassist or the drummer. But Pat Smear was also in this band early on as well. So this one came out in like 84, I think, 83. Their first single came out in 81, and Pat Smear was on that single. But this band actually got together in like 78. So they got together while the Germs were still active, which surprised me. This is fantastic, though. I had always thought of them as a goth band. There's some really killer punk songs on here. And actually, I think the punk songs are the ones that I like the most. And then the song Party Time, maybe one of the darkest songs that I've ever heard in my life. Fantastic album. I can't recommend this one enough. This is a 5 out of 5, a 10 out of 10. I really love this one. A couple of singles here that I've picked up too. Picked up The Damned, Alone Again, or I can't remember what the B-side is. The B-side is Anything off of The Damned. So that was a nice find for like $4. I never see Damned 7 inches. And to find one for almost nothing, I was super stoked to have that. Another recent pickup, the Mummies 94 Pill Sessions. Now you can tell just by the fact that this is colored that it's a bootleg. It's a really good bootleg. I buy all Pill Sessions. Anytime I see a Pill Session single or album, I always buy them. The Pill Session stuff was all so good, so well recorded, and he just had a knack for finding the best artists and giving them a platform. The reason I say the color is kind of a dead giveaway that it's a bootleg. The Mummies were all about doing everything the cheapest. They used the cheapest equipment they could buy. They recorded the albums for as cheap as they could. All of their albums, or their one album and all of their singles, it's all black and white because it was cheaper that way. That was just the ethos when they came out. I believe it was 91. This is 94, but I believe it was 90 or 91 when they first got together. And man, it was just a really cool band. They're actually playing here in like the next week or so. It seems like they'll break up, and every 5 years or so they get back together, do a tour, and then they split up again. Every time they need money, they'll do a quick tour. But yeah, they're coming through in a week or so. This is one I knew the band. I didn't know anything about the band though, and hadn't heard them. But again, this was another one I found for like $10. This is the Undead, Never Say Die. This is 84 or 85, if I remember correctly. So the real standout for me here was seeing Steve Zing on the back of it, because Steve Zing was a drummer for Sam Hain and then was a drummer for Danzig for a while. I wasn't familiar with the name Bobby Steele, though. Bobby Steele was actually in the Misfits. He was the second guitar player, I believe. He was on some of the early singles. But so a huge Danzig connection on this one. Really dug this as well. And then last but not least, this one's not really punk. I just kind of fit them in. I kind of think of them with this category. It's the Jam, Going Underground. A promo copy. I thought that was kind of cool. By this point in their career, it was more straight up mod. That they don't have the same punk edge that they did for. Oh, did they? I'm trying to think when this one was. This one is definitely more mod though than on the punk side of things, but was still a cool find for. I don't know if you guys can see that. For $2. So that's it, guys. Just wanted to do a quick video. Hope everybody's doing good. I'll see you soon, guys. Take care.